What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the truth about your first day as an aircraft maintenance engineer. Man, this is one of those topics that is really personal to me, and that is because when I started on my career as an aircraft maintenance engineer, right, I had no type of experience. I had no aviation background. My dad was never in aviation. My mom was never in aviation. So basically, I had to figure out everything myself, right? So whatever I tell you guys in this video is all based on my personal experience and the things I actually went through. So on your first day, right, the first thing I'm going to talk about is no one expects you to know everything. Guys, I wish someone have told me back then when I started off my apprenticeship, right? And that is because I remember this clearly. On my first day, I put so much pressure on myself. Oh my goodness. I'm thinking about it right now. Why did I even do that to myself? And to be honest, I don't blame myself. And that is because I had no type of mentor. I had no one to tell me what to expect. So basically, I'm new to this new environment and I had to figure it out myself. You know what I mean? And I'm here to tell you guys, man, on your first day as an apprentice, no one expects you to know everything, right? So what companies are looking for is someone who can show up on time and have that eagerness to learn. Someone who has that hunger to learn. Someone who has that potential of creating value in the company. You know what I mean? They don't expect you to know everything. I wish someone have told me back then, because on my first day as an apprentice, I thought companies were going to start telling me to change the brakes, for example, right? Start changing engines. I'm here to tell you guys, man, on your first day, companies not expect you to know everything. And the reason why I'm making this video is because now I'm actually working with some apprentices, right? And I see a lot of them have that anxiety. They are scared. They feel lost. They feel like they don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? But I'm here to tell you guys, it's okay. It's part of the process. We all have to start from somewhere. We all have to build experience. Guys, I'm here to tell you guys, man. I'm telling you guys from personal experience. What I know right now, the experience I have built back then 7 years ago, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? But it's part of the teaching process, and that is why they call it apprenticeship. You know what I mean? That's why they call it apprenticeship, for you to learn from experienced people, right? And with time, you can start building that confidence. But what companies are looking for is someone who has that eagerness to learn, and someone who is teachable. You have a good attitude. You know, that type of person that even you are really smart. Because I know some guys, man, they are really smart in school, but you got to understand that education in real life is totally different. You know what I mean? I know some guys that are really smart in school, but when it comes to the real world, they're not really that good of a mechanic. And you know what I mean? And it's the opposite. Some people, guys are really good in practical, but they're not really good at school. So you got to be that type of person that is teachable. You have that hunger to learn, and you're willing to learn. You know what I mean? And that's what companies are looking for. They don't expect you to know everything. So if you're starting your apprenticeship on your first day, please keep in mind, companies do not expect you to know everything. The second thing I'm going to talk about is, on your first day, you're going to do a lot of messy and boring jobs. Man, this is another thing I wish someone told me back then. And that is because on my first day as an apprentice, I was delusional. I thought I was going to start changing an engine or something. I would start changing the brakes. I was going to start changing the hydraulic system. Man, I can tell you guys, and I remember this clearly, on my first couple months as an apprentice, I was doing lubrication, PRC, panels, interiors. I was doing all these shitty jobs the licensed people didn't want to do, and it's part of the process. Every licensed aircraft maintenance engineer had to go through the same process. You know what I mean? And this is something companies are looking for, right? Imagine your manager give you a lubrication, for example, right? And you're like, nah, I don't want to do it. Why would they give you a good job? Why would they trust you? It's part of the process. You got to understand that, right? They're trying to see your level as an apprentice, right? Some apprentices come with really good high level, and some apprentices come with a really low level. And they can't know that if they don't test you with the little jobs. They can't know that if they can't experiment, right? And that's why some apprentices learn faster, and that is because they have some kind of past experience, either in aviation or some kind of mechanical past experience. But some of us, like me, I had no type of mechanical experience. I literally had to start learning everything when I started working as an apprentice. But on your first day, you're not going to be changing the engine. You're not going to be changing hydraulic system. You're going to start with the messy job. You're going to start with lubrication, PRC, cleaning, a lot of cleaning. But you got to understand, it's part of the process. Companies are building that trust, right? The companies are seeing your level as an apprentice, and they're seeing if you're that type of person they can work with. Because when it comes to probation, right, whenever they're doing your evaluation for probation, they're gonna talk to the people you're working with to do your evaluation. So imagine if you're that type of person, the licensed person tells you to do lubrication, for example, right, and you're like, nah, I don't want to do that. You think you're gonna pass probation? I'm telling you right now, you're not gonna pass probation for sure. You know what I mean? So on your first day, you're gonna do a lot of messy job, but it's not because they don't like you. They're trying to see the level of your apprenticeship. They're trying to see what level you are as an apprentice, and they're trying to build that trust. It's part of the process. Don't feel like they don't like you or they don't trust you to give you a really good job, but it's all part of the process. The next one I'm going to talk about is you will feel lost on your first day, and this is something that I would say happened to me, and it's going to happen to a lot of apprentices, right? And I'm seeing right now, because I work with apprentices right now, and I feel like I see a lot of them, they feel lost. And that is because you learn about aircraft system in school, right? And a lot of us are really smart, right? I had a friend personally, I'll tell you guys a personal story. I had a friend of mine, this guy is really smart dude. Ask him any question, he knows everything. But in the real world, he's like, Peter, I was smart in school. What's going on? I can't. It's part of the process. You're going to feel lost. And that is because education in real life is totally different. Education is to build that really good foundation so you can have a really clean, good foundation about aircraft system. But the real world is when you start learning. When I was in school, they were talking about hydraulics. They were talking about actuator, right? I knew the function of an actuator, but I never seen an actuator in real life. I didn't know what it looks like. And so when you start seeing things in real life, when you start seeing components in real life, now you can start understanding how they work better. And it's all part of the experience, all part of the process. So on your first day, you're probably going to feel lost. It's 90% you're probably going to feel lost, but you got to understand that it's part of the process. With time, with experience, the more you work with licensed people, you're going to start building that confidence. All right. It's part of the process. Please don't have that anxiety. Don't be scared. Don't feel like you don't feel like this is not for me. And I get this a lot. Actually, a guy that I worked with a couple times, he told me like, man, Peter, I feel lost. I feel like this is not for me. You know what I mean? I feel like I don't understand anything. I told him, buddy, chill. It's okay. It's part of the process. Well, I had that feeling. You know what I mean? And that's why I told you guys what I know right now. The amount of confidence I have right now, I didn't have that when I started up as an apprentice. I had to build that confidence with experience. But you got to be that type of person that is willing to learn. You got to start asking questions. Till now, I still have mentors. I don't know everything. I still talk to people like, hey, I don't understand this. Can you teach me? You can't be a really good apprentice. You can't be a good mechanic if you feel like you know everything. No one knows everything. You know what I mean? So that's why on your first day, if you feel lost, you got to understand that it's part of the process. And with time, with experience, you're going to build that confidence. And the last one I'm going to talk about is on your first day, you're not going to work alone. And this is another thing I wish someone told me back then. I felt like on my first day, when I started up as an apprentice, I thought my first day I was going to be changing brakes myself. I was going to be changing tires myself. Guys, I'm here to tell you, on your first day, you're not going to work alone. On your first couple months, you're not going to work alone. You're going to work with a licensed person. And that licensed person is the one that is going to train you throughout your apprenticeship. I would say mostly it takes around 2-3 months. It depends on your level of your apprenticeship, right? That licensed person is going to teach you the company's process. And with time, if they can see you're really confident, you're really comfortable, you have that type of skills, they can start giving you jobs that you can work along. But on your first couple days, I would say a month, minimum, at least a month, you're not going to work alone. But you got to understand that it's part of the process, right? And you want to be that type of person that have good attitude. Like I told you guys, reputation is a really big thing. And when it comes to probation, supervisors are not watching you 24/7. When it comes to probation evaluation, they're talking to the licensed person. They're asking them, hey, how was his attitude? Was he a good person? Can you work with him? And that's why I tell you guys, you got to have good attitude. You got to have good behavior. You got to be that type of person they can teach. You don't want to be that type of person that, yes, you are smart in school, but in real life, you got to you got to calm down and learn to learn. You know what I mean? You got to be that type of person that they can teach. You don't want to be that ignorant person, that person that feels like I know everything. Trust me, it's not gonna take you too far. And once you start having that type of attitude, you're gonna start having bad repetition, and it's not gonna be good for you throughout your career. All right, so your first day, you're not gonna work alone, you're gonna work with a licensed person, and you gotta understand that it's all part of the process. All right, so guys, that's the truth about your first day as an aircraft maintenance engineer apprentice. Guys, like I told you guys, this is all based on my personal experience, and a lot of you that are starting off your career are gonna go through the same feeling. But please understand, it's all part of the experience, it's all part of the process, and with time and with experience, you're gonna build that confidence, and you're gonna be a really good mechanic, better than me, better than everyone. All right, for you guys that are new to my channel, my name is Peter. I'm a licensed aircraft maintenance engineer, and if you need more information regarding aircraft maintenance engineering, I have hundreds of videos on my channel. Please not forget to check it out. And if you like this video, please not forget to share and subscribe. Love you guys.